planted a seed within me, and not knowing to him, and really not knowing to him where I am now, because I don't even remember the guy anymore. We never really kept in touch and stuff. So, I grew up. I'm sure, I pray that he's grown up and has a family and things of that nature. But that's what that's where it started. That's what my beginning was right there.
Wow, it's just amazing how simple it was just for someone to ask you if you want to go to church. And
Yeah.
that's how it all started. But
Yeah.
I'm sure God put something in your heart that made you say yes. I
Right.
think that's one thing that we probably don't do as often as we should as Christians, just that simple question of asking people if they want to come to church, just inviting them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So you said, you experienced the Holy Spirit, and do you know exactly what it was that sort of changed in your heart that made you just decide to go home and throw away all your secular music? Do you know what it was that made you do that, or the feeling, or?
Um, it was a thing for me that I've always felt like I'm listening to this music, but I really never liked what was being said. I've never really liked the content of a lot of secular music, because of all the cursing. I mean, the cursing really didn't bother me, but it was the derogatory nature of talking about women, talking about selling drugs, things of that nature. And I do get it if that's where you grew up, and if that's your livelihood, and that's where you went, been through. But my thing is like, okay, growing up, I really wasn't in the streets like that. I was in the streets, but not in the streets like a lot of the artists would depict on their music. So I just didn't feel a connection to it really, with all the cursing, and like I said, the gun violence and things of that nature. I really didn't feel a connection. So I was like, okay, why am I wasting my time listening to this when I can be listening to something else that may be pulling at me a little bit more? And that's where gospel music, not right then and there, but later on, that's where gospel music, especially CHH, because I found CHH late in life, but when I found it, that's what grabbed my attention. I was like, this is what I've been missing, out of my life, because I've been listening to rhythm and praise and choir music and things of that nature. And sad to say, that really never drew my attention either until I started listening to CHH, because I can put the two together. The secular rap and CHH had something that I was used to. So I was like, oh, okay, so I can listen to rap, but it's on the CHH side, and they're also talking about something that really is endearing to me, being respectful to women, growing up right, having our kids, actually having a future in this world and everything. So yeah, that's where it was.
Wow. And CHH is Christian hip hop, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Sorry
yes.
about that. Yes.
Oh, that's all right. Um,
It's
just
in his
let
blood.
I figured it out earlier when I was listening to something, and I figured it out, but just in case some other people didn't know, yeah, because when I love '90s music, like '90s R&B. Well, I like all kinds of music, but
Yeah.
R&B is what I really loved. And I'll listen to it now, and I didn't even realize some of the words they were saying back then. I was more into the beat of the song than listening to
Mhm.
the words. But I remember back in the '90s, our local radio station was 98.9, and it played all um, the secular, the greatest hits, 98.9's greatest hits. And I remember when it turned to Christian radio. And
Hmm.
that was back before I was saved. And I was so mad. I was like, why are they, no one listens to Christian music. I was just really upset because that was my favorite station. I just got my license. I was in my car. That's the station I listened to. And then I remember I was so mad that it turned to Christian radio. And then that was when I was 16. I'm 40-ish. 40 something now. And so,
we don't talk
and
about
so,
that.
but now 98.9 is Caleb, which is a, Christian radio station. That's my
Right.
favorite station. It's amazing how God works.
All right now. Our feelings aren't gonna be hurt since you said K-Love is your favorite station.
Yes, it's my favorite Christian station. Oh, but see, I don't.
The broadcast is going on.
She just caught him.
All that. Wait, what happened? We're gone.
Wow, for real.
That is until now. Like, I've just been sort of getting on since Jason has brought you guys up. I think I just liked your page the last couple of days, and I've been listening to your shows, and it's just, I love the content, because it's sort of like how I am with this podcast. You just get to hear all these stories of what God's done in their life, and then also their music, the stories behind the music. I just love it. So I'm sure that's going to change. Really, Caleb, I listen to it on my work. Like when I'm driving my clients, I work with senior citizens, so I'll put on the radio, trying to plant that seed in them. Mm-hmm. But so. And Jason, since you're back, tell us a little bit about you. And I kind of know your story. I interviewed you on my podcast, which I think yesterday it was like the 3-year anniversary of our the episode that you shared your story. But I know you weren't always, of Christian faith. You were actually an atheist. But just sort of tell the audience a little bit about your background before we get into what you're doing now. See where you came from.
Okay, a little bit of the faith walk. It started one day when I was born. No, just kidding. Not that far along. Pray for Orlando. He puts up with me every day on this stuff.
It's the same prayers for you, bro.
But I started off we were raised culturally Jewish. We didn't far from the faith in that. No, nothing Christian in that way. Then I went for a while. I just went atheist. I mean, I had no belief. My dad kind of fell from faith. We celebrated Hanukkah, which used to be 8 days. We did it in 1 day. We didn't eat kosher. We didn't do any of that stuff. We were, let's say, as minimal culturally Jewish as you can get. We even had bacon. So I did that for quite a while. I was atheist for quite a while. Fast forward to my dad passed away in 2003, and at that point I was angry, but I wasn't sure. I was angry at someone, and at the point I was getting angry at God essentially, and that kind of directed me that way. He was speaking to me at that point. I didn't realize that yet. 5 years later, my mom passed away. I was getting angry again, getting a little more angry at God. I can't be an atheist and not believe in God, and can't be angry at something that doesn't exist. So I started to believe a little bit that there was at least something there. And then that was 2008. Judy had fallen in 2009. So she had, that's when or 2008 rather. And she had started, doing her selling Mary Kay stuff. And one of her sisters in Mary Kay, Mary Kay sisters was challenged by her church or her pastor to read the Bible in 90 days. She never completed it. But she had challenged me to do that. I said, read the Bible in 90 days. That's not going to happen. One, I don't read. I can, I just don't. And then read the Bible? No. But I did know that Caleb did exist on 98.9. And because Judy was kind of sneaking that around, listening to Christian music. And they had the 30-day challenge to listen to Christian music. That was January, and this was in January of 2011 is when I started that. And I was like, can I do a 90-day challenge of just listening to Christian music? She's like, sure, I don't see why not. That was January 2011. So fast forward 3 years, we had our bottom fell out. I mean, she was out of work. I lost my job. She was in Texas. I was in Chicago, couch surfing, all that kind of stuff. And I just knew that when I went to Willow Creek, Willow Creek at all, it's a big mega church in Chicago. And I was attending there. I was in Barrington. And I got a call, and so I got, hey, I'm gonna go. I need to go get the family together. Our dogs were in shelter. Judy was in Texas. Went to Texas. That was like June, May or June of 2014. 6 weeks later, I was baptized. July in Humboldt, Texas. Um, so a 90-day challenge to listen to Christian music turned into. It took 3 years to get there, but I got I got baptized, and then that's 2014. And then I came back to Galesburg in August. So that's that part. That gets as fast as I can get. That's all that done in like 5 minutes or less.
So it sounds like both you guys, like the music is what really changed your heart
Mm-hmm.
and sort of led you to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did the two of you guys connect?
Well, I'll say Facebook primarily, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First off, it was, yeah.
Yeah. I had first heard Orlando. I was going to an event in St. Louis in 2000. What would that have been? 18, I want to say. No, I think it was 18, 16, no, 17 or 18. Doesn't matter. And I heard him on I was listening to one of the other radio stations, and he had a show there. I'm like, oh, this Orlando Presents. I'm like, who is this guy? I was listening to it. I'm like, I liked it. So then I found him on Facebook and we friended that way. And then it just, I don't know how it all unraveled to get to hearing that aspect. We just started talking more and stuff. He might remember more. My memory's horrible.
Yeah, it was pretty much, I mean, it was pretty much that simple. I didn't know at first that he was listening to, my show when he was on his way to St. Louis. That didn't transpire until later on into life or whatever, because I heard about Quake Radio because I've seen some of the posts every now and then on Facebook. And I checked it out a couple of times and everything. And then from there, because at the time I was running my own station, RYC Praise News, where music is therapy. So that's where rest of the tagline comes in with, Quake RYC Praise News. But I was always praying to God and asking God, for help to be able to, have assistance with the station, things of that nature, to be able to make it grow, to be able to reach other individuals and things of that nature. So about a month after praying that prayer, that's when I ended up meeting Jason and Judy, and we started talking a little bit. We, just talking about radio at first and the music and the different people were playing and things of that nature. And then the conversation came up about, merging stations. And at first I was like, I don't know. And then not saying it to him, but I was saying it to myself. I was just like, I really don't know. And then all of a sudden I had to sit back and listen. The guy was like, look, you asked for help. I'm sending you help. So, and then I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do it. Cause at the time I was going through so much stuff in my life personally that I didn't want to necessarily burden, them or anybody else with what was going on. I was more so of a kind of person that kept a lot of things tucked away instead of sharing it with folks in the fear of being, judged or ostracized or anything of that nature. So, but merging with Quake has been actually one of the best things, I've done within, CHH and within gospel music, period. And it's been going on 2 years. So it's about a year and a half or so. And God has done tremendous things within this time, with the station and everything, that I only know that, hey, it's only God who has implemented and started picking us up and taking us to where we are now. Because my drive for it and everything, I was on a show talking to, just talking to Jack. I feel my momentum starting to catch on and take off, because we do, between 14 to 15, maybe 16 shows a week. So it's like it's time to really pick up and get going and really put our foot on the pedal and not let up.
Wow. Yeah, I just love how, God connects people in such a way. And I love how social media can connect people. I got connected through Jason. We both are basically live in the same, or we did. He's sort of in between towns, but we lived in Galesburg. And one of my other brothers in Christ that goes to my church, he was wearing one of my Living Inside Out t-shirts, which is a ministry I started in 2011. Like Jason was, started his journey in 2011. But I started my journey in 2007, just really seeking what God had for my life, seeking out this plan that my aunt had told me that he had for my life in 2007. But she's like, you need to go back to church. And even though I was born and raised, going to church, I hadn't been in years. Like you said, I was doing my own thing. And, in life, I had the car, the house, all those material things, but I still felt like something was missing in my life. And so when my aunt called me, I was actually laying across my bed thinking there has to be more to life than this. There's just something missing. God had put it in my heart a long time ago that I was going to be a fashion designer. But, life happened. I got my first boyfriend. 5 years later, we had our first child. 5 years, another child. And then we started, working and, buying the house, buying the car, starting the family. So I sort of put that on the wayside. But when my aunt called me, she told me, I need to start going back to church. So I did. And that was in 2007. And then I gave my life to Christ in 2010, even though I had done that as a child, but I didn't have that really, that true relationship with God. But when I came back to Christ at the age of 33 and started going back to church, God inspired me in 2011 by watching a sermon on TV where this pastor was saying that Christians need to live from the inside out and share what God's doing in their life. And by that time, so much had happened in my life. A lot of things that were going on. I became a single mother. My 15-year relationship ended and all of these things. But that's when I seen God starting to work in my life. I had to depend on him like never before. And I had to, just trust. I tried to do things on my own strength at first. But then when that failed over and over again, finally I had to surrender to him. But when I did surrender to him, that's when he started working miracles in my life over and over again, financially, emotionally, just all the things. And so in 2011, I started this, the Living Inside Out teas, where that pastor was saying that Christians need to live from the inside out and share what God's doing in their life. And they're supposed to use their talents, abilities, and gifts. He's like, their tag is supposed to show. So that's the talents, abilities, and gifts. And so my friend Devon, he was wearing my t-shirt, I think at Walmart, and Jason noticed the t-shirt had a cross on it and the words Living Inside Out, and started a conversation. So that's how me and Jason met. But it's just amazing how you're talking, how you guys met. It's like God had put a ministry in our heart. And that's how, we come out of the closet, we share our tag, our talents, abilities, and gifts, and then we sort of connect with each other. And so I'm just so excited, that you guys have come together. I know Jason's been doing this for a long time. I started after he got connected, or we got connected through my t-shirt, then I was going to his Christian concerts and, all of that. And so excited to have you guys both finally come together. And so next week here in Galesburg is it August 4th?
August 4th, correct.
Yeah.
You guys are having, what's it called? The Extreme Tour?
Extreme Tour, correct.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I'll try to keep it brief. I'm horrible at that. But basically, the Extreme Tour is a group of musicianaries, as they call themselves, artists that are in the faith, and they go around city to city, wherever they're called to. They come in on 2 nights. One night they go and do a search and rescue. They go out to different places of the city, and then the second night they actually have the event. And all they travel based on their faith, that everything will be covered for them. As a host, we provide their housing and food, so they always have a place to stay and food, and food, and then a location for them to play as well. But they do music from hip hop to metal and everything in between. There'll be spoken words, there'll be some gospel. Well, not usually gospel in there. The gospel is definitely shared, but in a variety of different genres. They had this last year. Or 2 years ago, they had it was just a guitar, a violin, and a keyboard. A little family, and just doing some folk music.
Oh wow.
But no, so it's all different varieties of bands that are national or international rather. They have an East Coast and a West Coast. And they're going to go up to Canada. Idioms is going up there. He's going to be leading that one. He's part of our family as well. And then there's also a Europe. They go over to like the UK and stuff. They have that. It's a smaller tour over there, but they go over there as well. And they go on based on their own finances, and then they'll be able to make the next location. So they're not getting paid to do this. It's a free event. It starts at 4:00 is when they start playing music, to get the community aware. And about 5:00 when the actual music starts. It's gonna be over at Kiwanis Park, over at the skate park over there. So.
Okay. And so, how many musicians are going to be there for the Kiwanis Park? Do you
think? 4 or 5. There's
okay.
about 14 people total. So I think it's like 4 or 5 artists that are actually going to be there, and it changes regularly. Every city's different. Right now they're on a similar one that they have that's over in Ohio and moving to Michigan and stuff. Most artists go on there for 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time. Some go for the entire 4 months. They start in June and go through September.
Okay. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Any chance to share the gospel is always a good time, and I just seek that. I really seek after God in so many different ways, and I love to see people who are actually living out their faith. Instead of just inside the 4 walls. And so I hope this reaches. I hope people will share this so that you guys have a really good turnout. And you said that's at 4:00 between 4 and 5, correct?
Yeah. It said they show up around noon to start setting up. 4:00 they'll put the PA on and have music playing. Start talking. I say talking to the crowd. There's not usually a lot of people there at 4:00 yet. But they get out there and just hype up everybody. Then let people know that they're there. And then 5:00 the first artist will go up and they'll start. And there's a chance to win money. There is a challenge that they do. I'm not doing it. But you have to show up to find out what it is. It's a chance to win $100. There are some videos out there that of successes and failures of this challenge. I won't do it, but if you want to, have at it.
Wow! So they come on their own dime. Besides, you giving them food and shelter, and they're still handing out money. Just to bless somebody, and also just for fun.
Yeah. They also do they do BMX contests as well, but on the skate, if there's a skate park, and skateboard contest too.
Oh, so that'll be happening that Friday too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Awesome. If there's enough people there, they'll do a skateboard contest or BMX or whoever is there.
Okay, so do you need local skateboarders, or they bring their own skateboarders?
Well, a lot of them are skaters to begin with.
Oh.
So they'll bring their own boards, but if anyone in the community is a skater, which Galesburg has a few there. We were there last year and we had, I think, 7 or 8 skaters there.
Oh wow!
So that came in throughout the day. And then when the whole event ends, they go unplugged. They unplug the mic and the lights and all that stuff, and then they go and just do an acoustic worship night.
Oh wow!
So they do 2 or 3 songs, and it's just go acoustic, and then they'll sit on the stage and everyone will hang around them, and they'll just do it. A night of I say a night of worship, but it's dark. It's getting dark usually at that time, and
yeah,
and it's just guitar, somebody singing, and then whomever's there around, that joins in on the worship. So all the fun is there, and then we end with an actual, praise and worship time. So it's really cool. So
wow.
I enjoy that.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. When I was, you know, in my prayer, I was telling Orlando, I think you might not have been on. I was talking about I was when I was praying because I want God to lead me into, who's on the show and who I interview, and He put on my heart three scriptures. And I just want to know how maybe these scriptures might relate to you in your own personal journey or your own personal life of following Christ. And so I'll read the first scripture, and you guys can each share. Maybe God is, working your life through these scriptures. So my first one is John 10:27, which says, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me." Now I kind of know you guys sort of told your story, but can you think of a specific time when you feel like, you really heard God's voice?
You want to go,
Uh,
Orlando?
How did you respond?
um, well, within my walk, of course, I had plenty of times that I've gone back and forth within my walk, and it was a time that I used to work at this one establishment, and I felt that I heard God's voice for me to leave. Um, I didn't listen. I didn't listen, and I stayed there for another. I was there for a total of 10 years.
Mm,
Um, the job did not work out well. I was miserable throughout majority of those 10 years, and God was telling me to leave and start my own business, but I never listened. I never listened until the very end, when I ended up getting fired from this job for not something of my fault, but again, what tells me that I know that it was God speaking to me through this situation is that I got fired from the job. I couldn't get unemployment at all.
mm,
The only thing that I can rely on to take care of myself and, pardon me, take care of myself at the time was to start that business.
mm,
So I was pushed into doing what he told me to do years ago. But
mm,
like I said, I never listened. But I'm glad I was pushed to it. I mean, it's going on about 6 years since been working for myself and had more time to do this ministry. So, pardon me, to do this ministry, and that's a lot of times that's how you know that God is speaking to you, is when, what are you running from? What are
mm,
you just saying, no, no, I don't want to do it, but he keeps bringing it up, he keeps bringing it up. That's when you know God is talking to you and he wants you to do that, get
mm.
that done. Nothing else is going to really work out that well until you get done what he wants you to get done. So yeah, that was my situation.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely know about that too. We turn what was it supposed to be, a 11-year or 11-day journey into a 40-year journey, something like that, where just because we don't want to listen, we want to do things our own way. I think we all can relate to that. Um, but then my next scripture that sort of falls into that, which was Romans 8:28, that says, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purposes." So he did get you to where he wanted you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I have you know all the time in the world to do this, and I always post all the time, God, thank you for allowing me to do what I do, because I know it's not from me at
Mm,
all. It's him allowing me to do this. He can shut off my internet tomorrow, and I can't do anything, or make it a way whereas I can't do anything. So that's how I know this is exactly the reason why he kept pushing me, to start the business and start doing it because he knew that I was going to have the free time to be able to, do this. And I wouldn't have had that free time going into a 9 to 5 every day. So,
Wow. Yep. So lesson there is be obedient to God. Or like my favorite line in that movie, Sound of Freedom, when God tells you what to do it like immediately, it says, or don't hesitate is what it said when God tells you what to do. But I think we all have a tendency to hesitate because we're trying to figure it out in our own strength, or figure things out for ourselves. We don't let God take control, and I think that's what a lot of people are scared of. I think maybe even a lot of people who don't believe, they don't want to lose that control of their life, but they don't realize that but God wants the best for you. They don't know God's character, I guess. And so that's another reason why I love interviewing Christians, because so other people who may not know him, they will find out his character and how good he is. Like it said, are you hungry? Taste and see how good the Lord is. So, all right, Jason. Think of a pivotal time that you heard Jesus' voice.
Well, I mean, I know everyone has different views on how he works and stuff. One time I didn't know it was God talking. I said when my dad had passed in 2003, I was angry. I mean, I would go to the cemetery every weekend. Now, I lived in northwest suburbs of Chicago, and I would go every weekend to go visit the cemetery. I know he wasn't there, but I was atheist. I was, whatever. But I would always go there, and I was crying out to whoever. I mean, I didn't know who it was. I'd ask, any proof that my father was there, that my dad was there. And have you ever been to an open field? Because cemeteries are usually open, and then you hear a gust of wind come, and it would come through, and then it would just go right through, and then it would stop. Or that was proof that it was him speaking in a different way. And I'd go a couple other times. I'd go, and it'd be a windy day, and now I know it was praying the same prayer, asking for proof, and I needed some kind of direction, and it would be a windy day, and the wind would just nothing, and then pick up again. But it had been windy the whole day, so he had spoken to me in that way, showing that he was there. So is he speaking? Not really, that wasn't audible, but it's definitely a sign of like, okay, he's here. And that kind of shifted me in a direction to go, okay, there must be something controlling that, because that was just too freaky. When it happens multiple times, or the same exact prayer or statement as I said at that time, and then it continues, well, how else do you explain that? He could the unexplainable has to be him. I know that now, but that was 2003, way before I was even close to the walk. But that was the first time I really was starting to hone in and listen and hear things. Now 20 years later, it's like I hear it all. I hear him all the time on things. It's like how did I not hear him then? And sometimes he speaks through Judy. The voice of God sounds a lot like her. And she goes, and I said, okay. So, but it's just he's telling her something that I'm ignoring him on, and he's just going, you need to do. And then she's like, well, didn't he tell you? Yeah, he did. Okay. So sometimes it's indirect. But sometimes you got to slap me upside the head. Orlando's agreeing.
Same here.
Yeah, wow. And so then the second scripture was, and we know how that God causes everything to work for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So I knew you said you was angry when your dad died. So, but is that what kind of led you to seek out Christ?
Kinda, because I was atheist at the time, and I said I was mad, I had to be mad at something.
Yeah.
The world, the universe, and it kind of started that mustard seed. Say, hey, well, it's something. I had to be mad at something. I had to be mad at something. I didn't know what to be mad at. So I mean, yes, I was mad at God for doing that. But then it's like, well, then I started challenging myself on my beliefs of being, an atheist and all that, and it turned me into starting to say, well, I'll put it simple: the Big Bang Theory. I used to believe that completely.
Mm.
Like, well, how did that get there? Well, that little thing just blew up. Okay, how did I get there? Then I went, well, how did God get there? It was just there. The little thing that blew up for the Big Bang was just always there. They both take the same amount of faith.
Mm.
Which one do you believe? And I was like, well, this other one has no end in sight. It's just everything's willy nilly doing its own thing. This other one, there's somebody that actually cares, and there's a control, and it was the giving up control of he's got it. He's got a plan. I just gotta listen. Still working on it. And then again, aren't we all? But so I mean, it was um, that kind of got me into that direction. And it was just challenging myself on that. But I know everything we go through is for the good. Like we had on our way here to Iowa, we broke down in South Carolina, but we met people. We met a gentleman there who was able to connect. We were able to connect him with the pastors' families that we met in North Carolina with autism and stuff. That they have kids on the spectrum and all that. We connected that up, and then we had that connection there. And then when we got here to Iowa, we're connecting with folks out here. Now we're doing the Extreme Tour in Burlington, Iowa as well that Sunday. So we're connecting with folks out here. There's a reason why he's brought us, out to where we're going. It's going to be for the good. We've met two pastors here that are in our building that are running two churches up here in Burlington from New York. They've been here a few months. We're like, a vision for them. Like, somebody understands that, So we were almost an answered prayer to them. So whatever we broke down, we connected with people. Everything happens for whatever reason. He's got it figured out. We just got to get there.
Wow. Yep. I know for me, I think the first time I heard the voice of God, but I didn't realize, I just thought it was an overwhelming feeling is how I would describe it. And that was in the 5th grade. I used to draw pictures for my teachers. I thought I was going to be a fashion designer. So I take my crayons and draw little dresses and jackets and all that stuff. And I remember taking it to show my teachers. And then I remember having her pick out which one she liked the best. I went back to sit at my seat at my desk. And I remember having this overwhelming feeling that said, one day you're going to do something great. And, my only dream at that time was to be a fashion designer. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a fashion designer. But then immediately I thought, well, that's not really anything great, because I just felt like it was going to be something really great, But at that time in the 5th grade, so that would have been in barely 1980. And the only thing I knew that would help people, I knew I wanted to help people. So I was like, I'm going to be a fashion designer and I want to help people. And so I thought I was going to be a fashion designer and a social worker. And then I look back at that now, this many years later, and I'm selling Christian t-shirts, sharing the gospel, helping people. So it's like God spoke to me back there in the 5th grade, but then I sort of, well, first of all, I got in the middle school and realized I hated sewing. So I'm like, well, that ruined my fashion designer dreams because I didn't even like to sew. But God sort of worked it out these many years later, because he put the desire in my heart that the way I was going to help people is to share him, share about what he's done in my life and the lives of others. So God does work out things for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. And so the last one I want to end with was something that, a lot of people, some, a lot of my listeners are Christians, some may not be. The verse is Jeremiah 29:13, which says, if you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. So can you give our guests some practical tips, maybe the ones that don't know him, or maybe the ones that do know him, but don't really know how to live out their faith, how to live it out outside the 4 walls. What are some tips on how they could look for him wholeheartedly, or maybe share how you found or look for him wholeheartedly?
How I found him, I kind of said before, like I challenged myself to with the faith of the Big Bang concept, evolution, and then just that there was a God. I just went to God first. I wasn't worried about the Jesus thing. That should be saying that in this platform. But I would, when you're an atheist, first thing you go, the first step is God. I have a friend that stayed with us. I've been friends with him since high school. He stayed with us last year, and atheist. I mean, wholeheartedly. I mean, there was no question.
Mm.
I mean, even in our house, he told us that we weren't able to speak about Christ or God in our house. Not that didn't offend very well. I mean, I was like, well, it's my house. But he went to an extreme tour a couple years ago on that, helped out on it, and today he's now a believer. No, he's in God. He hasn't. He's Jewish by no Jewish as well. So he's not to Jesus yet. But the first step is God, accepting that He even exists. Because how can you believe about Jesus if you can't believe that God even exists? So if you struggle with that part of it, just look around it and challenge yourself to see, explain the differences between evolution and creation, and then get to where you get to God. And once you get to God, continue from there. Um, I've done that with a couple of my old coworkers. Same thing, that are now getting into the faith. We had one actually call in a couple months ago about that he's now walking with Christ and stuff. Just start somewhere. Start with God. That's if you don't believe in that. I don't know how to say it if you've already been in church and already been that way. I don't know. Never been there. I don't know how to do that part. So I'll hand it off to Orlando.
You got any thoughts on that, Orlando?
Yeah, on that, on that end is basically the way that I had to start from the beginning. I had to start from the beginning all over again, and that meant going back, getting baptized again, things of that nature. I've been baptized before. I just started going to a new church, things of that like things of that nature, taking those types of steps, and the baptism really helped out as well because I know that God is speaking to me and He's showing me things that are about to transpire with what the ministry is doing. Pardon me. And everyone in the ministry is going to have to be on one accord and equally yoked when it comes to our spiritual faith and our walk in the direction on where God is trying to take us. We can't have one person moving to the left and everybody else is moving to the right. So everybody's going to have to be on one accord when it comes to that. And I didn't want to be, not saying that I would have been, but I wanted to make sure I checked myself spiritually before things really started going on and things really started picking up. And then okay, I'm ending up being the weakest link or the weak link of the bunch, and then we're stagnated because of me. So that's what each individual would need to do their within their own walk. Look inside yourself, look inside the mirror, look at yourself and find out. If you're not living life right. We don't. You know, we're not with you 24 hours a day. We don't know what you're representing out in the street. And half of us don't even live in the same cities together. So you can be doing a little bit of anything and we would never know it. But there are people that see you, and if they start putting two and two together that you're working with this ministry, but yet you're living your life this way in your city, then that gives us a bad look at the end of the day, and it gives God a bad look at the end of the day. So that was one thing that I said, okay, I have to clean up whatever I have going on mentally and spiritually and things, and get on one accord with God so that I know what He's downloading into me is for sure coming from Him.
Mm.
So
Wow. Yeah, it's like something you don't want to play with, because not everyone that goes to church has the same spiritual walk. Some people do it as a ritual. Some people do it just because it makes them feel good. But there comes a point where you have to make that decision. Are you going to, surrender your life to God, and He'll direct your path once you do that. So I just love how, you got that commitment and you're taking it so seriously. And that's why I think your ministry has picked up. I know Jason mentioned, I don't know about Roku. You guys might have a opportunity with streaming on Roku.
Right. Yeah,
So
Roku and Amazon Fire Stick. Actually, the day and time has been established. It's going to be September the 12th, that Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We just haven't really nailed down and figured out who our first guest is going to be yet. I believe I know, but we haven't really came to that far conclusion yet on who that's going to be. Um, and then also, as soon as we had that offer, and as soon as we sat down and spoke to the young lady about doing it, my number one thing was, and I know it was the same thing, with Jason and Judy. Our number one mental vision and our number one thing was, okay, how can we help other ministries? How can we help other ministries to be able to get on here and spread the word of God as well? And so that not so much so that they can be known, but so that they can be known for the spirit that God is flowing through them, not us. We don't matter, but how are we presenting? How are we being good stewards of the word? How are we presenting what God has blessed us with? And this is an awesome opportunity, for everyone out there, CHH artists, rhythm and praise artists, gospel rock artists, is going to take it to the next level on what God is working on and what He's trying to do and trying to combine us together. And that's the number one thing. And I think that's the thing that's been missing within this genre, for years. There have been certain people that have worked together, and that's fine. But we need to stop separating off and having so many different podcasts and so many different radio stations and so many different churches for that matter. Let's get together and actually spread the word together. The power in one is going to be stronger than anything else. Even if I went to the gym and I strengthened this one finger for a month, it's still not going to be more powerful than if I knock you out with this right cross. So, but so that's the whole thing. That's the thing. We need to start thinking of how can we work together and get to, and like you said earlier, get the pride out the window. A lot of us may not know it, but we're struggling with pride really bad. If you can't work with somebody because you're, oh well, how am I going to separate the money, or how am I going to get my numbers and things of that, then you're suffering with a prideful nature, and you need to work on that really bad, because that's not where we're aiming at. Sure, it's important for the numbers, but at the end of the day, it's more important if we have 5 consistent at us than having none at all. Even if we have one consistent person looking at us, evidently that one person is getting something from what we are putting out and for what God allows us to put out. So, yeah.
Wow. Amen to all that. Yeah, we just need to get on one accord. And I think, we're the only Bibles that some people are going to see, the people that don't know Christ. And so I think that's like the most powerful thing. If we can all come together right now, it looks like we're all separated. Looks like we're all fighting against each other. And, we got all these denominations, and, God didn't create denominations. People did. But there's only one God, one Jesus, one Holy Spirit. So if we can all get on one accord, I think that's the most powerful thing that we can do as Christians, to share the good news of, who Christ is. And so, yeah, that's just amazing. If the folks want to, know more about your guys' ministry, what's for breakfast? I think you got what's for dessert. Do you got what's for dinner too?
Yeah, we got dinner. Yes. He's getting ready to do that one too.
So you guys do it like 3 times a day then?
Yeah. Well, the dessert is on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's Sunday dessert. If you want some dessert on Sunday, you should be eating dessert once a month or once a week anyway. So stop getting those sweet tooth. Nah, I'm just messing with y'all. Y'all do what you want to do. But yeah, we do what's for breakfast, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, 4 a.m. Pacific Time, and then we do what's for dinner, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and what is that, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And then the what's for dessert, we do that at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, and it's a video, a video show and everything. So yeah. And it's just a thing, a play on filling you up, feeding you spiritually. A
Mm,
lot of people love food and they love to run the food or whatever. So we're just twisting it up a little bit, like, hey, come on and eat dinner with us. I mean, eat breakfast with us. Because when you wake up first thing in the morning, even if you don't eat physical breakfast, you should be eating your spiritual breakfast, and that's where we come in. You can listen to us, we'll laugh and joke, we'll have a good time, but by the time the end of the show and you're about ready to leave the house or maybe take a nap for the rest of the day to get yourself ready for the day, we're going to feed you spiritually and get you going on your way. And then what's for dinner is basically the same thing, but just flipped around. We're going to feed you before you go to bed at night so that your mind is clear on some spiritual nature and that God can actually let your body and your soul rest on the word and then put you to bed. If you listen to us or not, that's fine. But we're just going to put a seed in your head that before you go to bed at night, read your word. Before you go to bed at night, pray. Before you go to bed at night, speak to one of your brothers or sisters or somebody and have them, encourage you and uplift you before you lay your head down. Because we go through so much in a day.
mm.
Why take it to bed with you? You know, so
Yeah.
Well,
Wow. Yeah, that's important to stay connected as often as you can, not just on Sundays or on Wednesday night Bible study, but all through the week, all day long. You need to, you need God, or I know I need God. I don't see how people
yes.
do it without him, but
I need Jesus, that's for sure.
oh
it's
yeah.
a struggle. It's a struggle when you try to do it without them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, hey, because I got another hour and then I got to jump on mine for the night. So I'm glad to be here with you, though. So I do thank you, for allowing us to come on. And if there are any artists out there and if there anybody out there, period, that wants to share their testimony with us, you can always email us to quakeryc@gmail.com. That's KWAKERYC@gmail.com. And if you want to check out our website or anything, go to the website. That's quakeradio.com. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you for all that information. You can put it in the comments if you like for people in case they don't remember all that. But just thank you guys so much for just being on here. Thank you so much for following Christ and just letting your light shine, being that city on a hilltop, because there's just so much darkness, and there's so much, but there's so much good news too. And you hear all the bad news, but it's so I'm just so grateful that you guys are sharing the good news. So
And I'll see you next week too. I'll be out there in
yes, I
I'll be out
cannot.
there in Illinois. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't wait to meet
Yeah.
you in person. So anyone who's in the Galesburg area, surrounding area, or even if you're further out and you want to come out to Kiwanis Park on August 4th, 4 p.m. Central Time, between 4 or 5, and it'll probably be going on for a few hours, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it goes
Jason?
till 9. Yeah, it goes till
Yeah,
9.
till 9. So yeah, bring out your youth ministries, bring your family, bring anybody, tell everybody that you know about it, because God's doing something, and a lot of people sometimes um, they're blind to it, but there's definitely people out there that are shining their light for Christ. So I thank you both
Amen.
for being on the show, and
Thank you.
that'll
I
be
was
it.
just said thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
And oh yeah, just to let y'all know real quick before we sign off, I will be charging for headshots $5. No, I'm joking. But go ahead.
I'll give you mine for 3, but I got to up my game to 5. Okay.
All right. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.